To our 16th webinar here from Employflex and EmployMum. We are delighted to have Dora O'Neill with us today. Dora has a very interesting story, and which I'm really looking forward to hearing. So just a little bit about us first. We are EmployMum and Employflex. So we're primarily a recruitment service, and we're all about flexible work. So flexible work can be part-time, it can be job share, it can be remote work, it can be compressed hours, or anything that really helps you with your work-life balance. We do training for people who are working remotely, and we hold these webinars every Thursday for job seekers. We started doing this during COVID, and we're continuing to do it now. We help people with their upskilling, and we have a very active blog where we put advice for people who are going back to work or looking to pivot in their careers. So we have quite a few jobs advertised at the moment. So if you're looking for a flexible role, make sure that you go onto our social media channels or our website and see if there's anything there that may be of interest to you. So we're also involved with returnships, and these are like internships, but for people who are going back to work after a certain number of years being out of the workforce. So Dora kind of falls into this category in one way, and that's why we heard her story, and we really wanted to have her on board just to hear from a real person what it is like to pivot completely in your career and go back to college and study something completely different. So we're really looking forward to hearing what challenges she faced, how she overcame them, and where she is now. So Dora, if you want to share your screen there and unmute yourself, there we go. And I leave it over to you, Dora. And for anybody who has questions, if you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see the questions and answer feature there. So you can just pop them into that, and Dora will answer all your questions then at the end of her presentation. So over to you, Dora, and we'll talk to you after your chat. Okay, thanks.
Thanks very much, Karen, for having me today. I know you seen my story on, I just put it on LinkedIn, and people thought it was inspirational. I just got through it, so hopefully maybe it will help some of you listening in today. First of all, my name is Dora O'Neill. I live in South Armagh, just across the border in Northern Ireland, and I've just recently graduated from a master's in guidance counselling in DCU. I returned there as a mature student in my 50s, so I certainly was mature, and I'll just start now really about what has brought me there. I'm a mother of 4 boys, that's myself and my 4 boys there. Now, I don't profess to be the most eloquent of speakers. In fact, I'm very much out of my comfort zone today, but I certainly have the passion to sort of help anybody just fulfill their passion and, to get the most out of themselves. First, now I started in 1985, I started as a student nurse in the Royal Victoria in Belfast. Now, immediately I know there's people on here who are saying I wasn't even born then, but we'll try and gloss over that fact. I went on then, I qualified in 1998, and I became a junior staff nurse in the trauma unit in the Royal in Belfast. This was during the Troubles, the 1980s. It really was a very bad time, particularly in Belfast and all across the north. So it certainly was very trying times. A bit like now with COVID, I can certainly resonate with what the nurses and doctors and hospital staff are going through now at the minute. I have a ladder here because at that time in the 1980s, it was very much you went into a job and you climbed the ladder. So as you can see, I went on to be a senior staff nurse in the trauma unit, and then I was an acting ward sister then to cover a couple of maternity leaves, and I went on to do an orthopaedic nursing diploma in Musgrave Park Hospital, and then I suppose from the management side of it, the acting ward sister, I sort of went on to do a degree in health and social service management because that's what you did. That was part of climbing the ladder. But as a lot of you will know now, really that ladder, it is no more the career ladder because we have so many different jobs and careers during our lifetime. You know, so I worked in Belfast until 1995, so that was 10 years. And during those times, like, I mean, I was in a trauma unit and there was a security wing in it. So you dealt with everything from bomb blast injuries to gunshot wounds to punishment beatings, punishment shootings, as well as the other ordinary things, as the saying is, you know, people with spinal injuries, with fractures from RTAs and from, you know, different things like that. It really was a very trying time. And I suppose we dealt with it by just looking after each other, the staff on the ward, and we had good nights out talking about our different experiences because there was no such thing as counselling or anything at that stage. So you just sort of got on with it, and it certainly built up my resilience for life ahead. Then in 1995, I moved to County Meath. I was getting married and my husband was working in Dublin. So I started a job in Kappa Orthopaedic Hospital. And in 2001, I was relief night sister there. So anytime the night sister was off, I would take charge of the hospital. That was all the patients in the hospital and the staff, and just managing the hospital during the night. I job shared actually then when I was in Kappa, because I had my first child in 1997, and then I had the second one in 99. So very much can relate to Karen's Employflex. Like I was facilitated to do job sharing, and it really meant then that I could actually, you know, continue my career and just get a balance with that. In 2001, I moved back, and we moved back to the north of Ireland. My young son, he was obsessed with football and he wanted to play for a club and he wanted to play for County Armagh. That was part of the decision of moving back home, plus the support as well. And again, I moved to Daisy Hill Hospital in Newry, and I worked as a staff nurse. And again, it was part-time, which was excellent. You know, the flexibility just made sure that I was able to keep on going. Then this is where I come off the ladder. It's like a crazy paving from there on in, and that's very much what people, I suppose, can recognize now. Their career, it's not linear. It's you can go from one place to the other and maybe back again, but it's certainly not straightforward. I took a career break in 2003 because I was pregnant with my third son, and then I had another son in 2005. Yeah, I know. Then I was on a career break and I was very busy, as you can imagine, with 4 boys. And a friend approached me in 2011. Him and his brother were setting up a cardiac screening company. It's where they go around different clubs and schools and stuff doing cardiac screening for sudden cardiac death. And he asked me, would I run the business for him? And I thought, what would you be asking me for? Like, what skills would I have? Because from being out of the workforce from 2003 to 2011, I thought all I was good for was cleaning the house, changing nappies, conflict resolution, things like that. So anyway, he persuaded me anyway, and I started, and I worked through it, and I learned an awful lot of things. I was more in administration and organising staff and organising equipment and liaising with cardiologists and parents and clients and whatever. I got into the whole social media side of things as well, and I really learned lots and lots and lots of things. But during that time, it was a working from home actually, and again, it was that balanced career. I worked at it when the children were at school and then when they went to bed at night. During that time also, my husband was away in London working for 5 years, going Monday to Friday to London. He was only home at the weekends. So it really was a balancing act. But during that time, I suffered from a lack of confidence, a loss of confidence actually, and very low self-esteem. And I sort of wasn't fulfilled in the job I was doing, and I was looking at other jobs, and all I could see was what I couldn't do. I couldn't marry what I could do and how I could fit into, you know, doing something else. And from that, my confidence just got lower and lower. I never said anything to anybody, and nobody noticed because I was carrying on and I was fulfilling my duties as a mother and a wife and a housekeeper and all of that. So in 2017, then I decided, no, I've had enough of this. I really have to do something because I could really see myself spiraling into a deep hole. And I left the company. I took another career break. I decided to focus on myself, and I went for some personal counselling. It was only then in January 2018, after we actually had a holiday in Florida over Christmas, the first time ever we went away for Christmas. And I just felt so alive, something that I hadn't in years. I know that's very hard to admit at this time. But when I come back from the holiday, I said, I don't want to go back to where I was. So I reached out and I asked my brother, actually, I asked him for help. I had helped him. He had went through a gambling addiction, actually, and I had helped him through that and went to counselling with him and, you know, tried to. So I reached out to him, and he had met lots of people through he had become a counsellor following his addiction and things. And I just asked him, is there anybody you know that could help me with, you know, to get my career back on, to get me back, to get me alive and to be fulfilled, because I just wasn't. I knew there was more in me, but I didn't know what way to turn. So anyway, he put me onto this girl, Ita McGuigan, who changed my life, because she sat with me and sort of, you know, asked me, what are you interested in? And of course, all I was thinking of was what I didn't want to do. And in fact, during that time, I didn't even tell her that I had actually worked for the cardiac screening company for 6 years. That's how I didn't marry the skills I had got with that. I just thought, sure, I was working from home. It wasn't really a big deal. So she mentioned a few courses, and she said about the Masters in Guidance Counselling, which was in DCU. Immediately I thought, Masters, are you mad? It's 1999 since I did my degree. I've hardly looked at a book apart from nursery rhymes and different sports magazines and stuff like that. But anyway, she persevered, and I applied for the course. The first thing I had to do on the application was just guidance counselling, just for anybody who doesn't know. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it, especially through school. It's facilitating people throughout their lives to manage their own education, training, occupational, personal, social and life choices, so they can reach their full potential. And I think that's what really grabbed me, was that I would be able to help people reach their full potential and then contribute to the development of a better society. And I was very interested in the adult side of it, interested in helping those and who were in the same situation that I was for the previous few years, knowing that there was more in them, but they didn't know where to turn. So anyway, the personal statement was the first part of the application. And I sat for 3 weeks with an empty page for a personal statement. It was asking me what my previous experience, how it would help, and why did I want to do the course and everything. I just couldn't get the concept of the transferable skills I had, like from my nursing, from voluntary work. I was safeguarding representative for my church, the parish, I was also a school governor, in charge of, you know, interviewing and selection and child protection. And I was also a GAA coach for under sixes, that would be 70 or 80 under sixes every week. So in itself, that was probably a fairly admirable skill to have. But it took me a while and to and fro and just to get the transferable skills that I had. And whenever I started to think about it and really reflect on the years, you know, my years of experience, I had page loads of transferable skills. And this is the big thing, I think, for those now looking for work, is to really reflect and really find out what skills you have to bring forward, especially if you're pivoting in your career or changing career, you know, or retraining, which I was doing. So then I submitted my personal statement. I sort of sent it back and forward to Ita, and she said, you know, you're not doing yourself justice here. Get your head down and do another wee bit. So between the to and fro, and it was done, and I got an interview. And I hadn't been interviewed like any of the jobs that I had, even acting up and stuff. Just people asked me to do it. And same for volunteering, everybody asked me to do it. So I hadn't interviewed in an awful long time. So I just went through about the STAR, which you know about if you're applying for jobs and stuff. And then it was all about building confidence. So anyway, I did the interview, and a lot of my personal counselling actually had helped me, because I knew where my values lay, what exactly I wanted to do. And in fact, coming towards the end of the interview, the interviewer said, you know, I'm worried about the intensity of the course. Would you be able for it? And I said, of course I'd be able to. I worked in a trauma unit during the Troubles in Belfast. I brought up 4 children when my husband was away for 5 years during the week. You know, this is my time. My children sort of were up, they were able to, you know, look after themselves. When I was doing my my degree part-time in 1999, the final year, and I was doing my dissertation, I went back to college when my second child was 5 weeks old, and I travelled from Meath to Belfast to do that every week. So I said, I don't think I'll have any problem with the intensity. I couldn't have done that if he had asked me that in 2017, I wouldn't have. I would have cracked. I would have said, no, you're right, I wouldn't be able to do it. But anyway, I wasn't successful at interview. I got a letter to say, you weren't successful, but you're on the waiting list. And of course, I took it as, that's really polite. There's probably hundreds on the waiting list, and there probably is no waiting list. But anyway, a few weeks later, I got an email to say I'd been accepted. And of course, immediately bringing back to that lack of confidence, I was thinking, I wonder how far down I was in that waiting list and all. And people were saying, it doesn't matter, just get on with it. So that's what I did. Look forward to September when I enrolled in DCU as part-time mature student. There was about 5 people on the course out of 21 who weren't teachers. So I wasn't on my own, coming from a different background, but I really had a very different background to everybody else. And there was really only 2 of us that weren't working as well as doing the course. So immediately I said, right, I have to make a go out of this. And all the time in the back of my head was that, are you able for the intensity of this course? And I thought, I'm not going to be beaten here. So I went to the library, because the last time I'd been in the library in 1999, there was no computers to look up things. It was microfiche. I know a lot of you won't even know what a microfiche is, but you can Google it. And I went and I found the layout of the library. I got comfortable with it. I went to library workshops. You know, the staff, you know, about how to look things up, you know, how to reference, all of that sort of thing. There's so many supports now. And then I also discovered that there was a writing centre. So when it came to assignments, if you had any problems, there was lots of tutorials and all online, which were great. And then you could actually see a person face to face then to look at maybe a first draft of an assignment. So I took advantage of all of those things, and they were really, really helpful. Of course, the tutors and fellow students, I think you learn so much from your fellow students as well, and we really did. It was really a brilliant support network. And I found that a lot of the time, my experience outside of the educational system really helped and give another perspective on things. Then we had to do 100 hours then on placement. And again, this was way, way out of my comfort zone. But I need no worry, because I went to the LMATB, to the adult guidance unit, and I met a fantastic guidance counsellor there, Eilish Coyne, for whom I will ever be so grateful. She actually was in Louth at the time covering maternity leave, and I spent time there working in adult guidance, and I just loved every minute of it. So I did a second placement then in the Dundalk Institute of Technology with Catherine Staunton and Anthony Murray and all the staff at the Careers Employability Office there. And again, such a brilliant, working with students was absolutely brilliant. But the thing that did stand out for me was, again, students, like I had done, they couldn't grasp the transferable skills that they would have. You know, they would say, well, I only worked on a building site, so what has that got to do with, you know, my engineering degree now, or my business degree, or whatever? And it was really, you know, that did really resonate with me, that people are not marrying their transferable skills with what they want to do in the future. Also, when I was in DCU, I volunteered as a DCU ambassador, and that was doing the weekly CV clinics, helping students with assisting them. They would come with CVs, and you would, you know, guide them as to, you know, how to present them, and, you know, the different parts of that, preparing personal statements, LinkedIn and all. And it was as much a learning for me as me supporting and assisting students there. So in 2020, it was my final year, and I had my dissertation. And all along from I started the course, I knew there was a 20,000 word research dissertation to do. And I knew I was going to do it on something to do with returners, something to do with the situation that I'd been through and how stuck I felt. So I decided to do the research then on experiences of women who are returning after a career break or after a long time of unemployment or whatever, and they're returning back into employment training or education. And yes, the dissertation, it was difficult, but because I was doing it on a subject I was passionate about, and I thought would help me then in what I wanted to do in the future, it was very rewarding. Of course, the pandemic struck, and it was really difficult, because I missed the socialization of being at university and going in twice a week and being with everybody. And that's something now I would think about people working at home as well, is that lack of socialization. So I graduated well, I didn't graduate because we haven't had a graduation ceremony, but last month I got my results, and I actually got a first in the Masters in Guidance Counselling, and I was actually ranked second from the year group, which I thought was a fantastic achievement from where I had come from, stuck where I thought I'm no good for anything, only washing floors or cleaning or making beds or cooking or whatever. So yeah, that was a brilliant achievement for me. And I suppose, I think I find it hard to sort of, you know, articulate my achievements and that, because I think as women we don't celebrate, you know, what we have and, you know, what we achieve. But you know, I'm learning to do that, because I think if we don't talk about ourselves, nobody'll know, nobody'll have a sense of who we are. So like a lot of yourselves, I am now seeking employment, and I've had to get into that dreaded word of networking, which I think a lot of people hate. But I thought networking was with professionals or whatever. But, you know, everyone has a network. It's a social activity. Whatever, if you're part of a GA club, if you're part of a book club, let people know that you're, you know, that you're seeking employment. Get your personal branding. Let people get a sense of who you are, what your values are, what you stand for. And then LinkedIn and social media. I can't say enough about LinkedIn. I started to use it. I'm still sort of feeling my way around it and making mistakes and all of that. But I can definitely say that the traction I've got from LinkedIn, I never would have got it, especially in these times where there's no face-to-face contact or no gatherings or anything. As I said, that is how Karen came across me, through LinkedIn. And also, you know, I've got now some work with Sinead and Lisa through Reboot. They're starting a returner program in Belfast soon, and they've asked me to be an associate of that. And that was purely from them meeting me from LinkedIn. I met them before the lockdown happened in March, and they sort of they've got a sense of who I am and how passionate I am about the subject. And just the other advice I would give would just be, you know, prepare. There's so much, like Employflex, you know, the webinars every week that they're providing, and they're doing about CVs and you know, your LinkedIn and where you can get support and all. And there's so much support out there, but you do need to link in with people who know where to signpost you to. Then the planned happenstance, I've learned this from sort of my couple of years in university. It's a career theory, and it's all, you know, the way people often say, well, I just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But plan to be in the right places. Plan to be, if you want to do photography, if you want to take photography up as a professional, go to a photography club and maybe the photographer there would be your mentor, you know, things like that. Get mentors, you know, get people to support you, you know, join different groups. And if you're speaking about yourself, maybe people will say, I know somebody, and they'll be able to help you out with that, or here's a course that you could do which would, you know, put you on the right road. And then upskilling as well. There's so many free courses and so many things now available. And again, linking in with the likes of Karen in Employflex or your local ETB or whatever, you know, there's endless opportunities there. Finally, I would just say, just take one step at a time. Yes, of course, we all need our goals and we have to work towards our goals, but don't focus too much on the end product, because sometimes you can really be overwhelmed. Just take one step at a time. Just get into, you know, first day in college, then the next day, then the next day, then your first assignment or whatever. And acknowledge each small step. And I think a lot of the time, and I think it's been Irish as well, we don't like sort of, you know, acknowledging things, or we take them for granted a lot of the time, and just celebrate each achievement. And again, I suppose I've learned, like Nadia Cominette, not to run away from fear, but just to face it full on. I've sat this morning with you, and I have been so petrified because I hate speaking in front of people, but I have to do it. So I have to put myself out of my comfort zone, So this morning I'm definitely feeling the fear, and yeah, I'm trampling it. And just to finish off, I'm very used, this is me actually with my son, I'm very used to celebrating everybody else's success, but now I'm able to celebrate my own, thankfully, and thanks through the support and just asking for help, because there is lots out there. Okay, that's back to you then.
Wow, wow, wow. That was absolutely amazing, Dora. I was actually moved to tears a couple of times, to be honest, with your story. Just amazing story, and well done you. And I think you were nervous today. You played a blinder, and you were really, really good. Very confident speaker, and I think, you know, very, very relatable. We've all been there. We've all been at the bottom. You said when you were asked, were you able for the intensity of the course? You know, all the amazing things that you had done, that you had, you know, hadn't even thought of, like worked in a trauma unit during the Troubles, brought up 4 children with an absent husband. My God. You know, and this was your time, you know, and you claimed it, you know, so you had the courage and the resilience to claim that back for yourself, like, which is absolutely amazing. And I suppose, you know, we did start off as Employ Mum, and we're now Employflex as well. So we have spoken to a lot of women who have been in your situation, and I think everybody has been in that situation at some stage or another anyway, but particularly women who, you know, devote themselves to their family. And you said at one stage, you know, you had nothing to offer apart from making beds and conflict resolution and after the family. But you know, you have proven, you know, coming second in your class with a first class honours, you know, a degree, you know, a master's, sorry, you know, that you know, you have more to offer. And you know, by reaching out and asking for help, I think is a big message I think that I got from that. That, you know, don't be ashamed to ask for help. I know when I came back from living abroad and I was looking for work, I was out of work, I was mortified. I was mortified telling people that I was unemployed. But I mean, everybody has been there at some situation, you know, everybody has been out of work at some stage of their lives, or, you know, trying to find a way, you know, a path. So thank you so much for your very, very honest presentation. And I actually was moved to tears. So I think this is the best presentation we've actually had, this best webinar we've had. I suppose, you know, Sheryl Sandberg, you know, the CEO of Facebook, has said, you know, that our career isn't a ladder, it's a jungle gym, you know, and that's the way it is sometimes, you know, and we just have to figure it out sometimes. So I'm just blown away, to be honest. So listen, we'll go over to the questions and see what questions are coming through there from our audience. So from an anonymous attendee, so I love how Dora acknowledged that so much of her juggling of kids, absent husband, with skills to call out in her application form. Sometimes it takes fresh eyes to make us realise that we have acquired new skills, even when we're not in the official work environment. Yeah, I think that's true. And you know, you talk about you know, you've met some mentors and coaches along the way. How beneficial was that for you, Dora?
Absolutely unbelievable. You know, people think, you know, I felt when I was going into, especially into placement, I thought I'm going to be such a burden to these people. But I really wasn't, because I had a different perspective. You know, if people are working somewhere for a while or whatever, and as well as that, with the students, having 4 sons of my own, and sort of them, you know, growing up, some of them were at university and some of them are still at secondary school. You know, I was able to relate very much to those students, you know, and it's not it's not easy for them, you know. And then the mentors, then they were so brilliant, and, you know, saying, well, you can do this, you know, you have so much to, you know, even at the end of the day saying, look how much you contributed today, you know. And it's the same working in the adult guidance. you know, holding one-to-one interviews and things like that. You know, I was let do it because, you know, after a while they seen that I had that to cop on and that knowledge and that, I suppose, the empathy and the relationship that I can have with people. And I suppose that's why I want to work with people, with adults, with returners and people who maybe have long-term unemployment. I know how that feels. And you know, I know that things are not all rosy in the garden. I know there's no point in me saying to somebody, you know, I have a lovely course for you to do for 2 years, and maybe they can't afford the mortgage at the end of the month. So I think that experience as well is very vital, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, we have to be practical optimists, really, don't we?
Yes.
You know, we can't just willy-nilly go off and do something, you know, because there may be a mortgage to pay or bills to pay,
Yes.
etc.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
and I suppose that's what you're bringing to your role as a guidance counselor now as well, or a coach.
Yeah.
Is that practical side and that life experience that you have.
Yeah.
I suppose another question coming through here. What was the biggest challenge for you going back to study or going back? What was the biggest challenge that you found?
There was actually a couple of challenges, and the challenge I had from home was everybody was comfortable with me being there, and everything was, I was doing everything. So it was a big challenge that I was away 2 days a week, and whenever they come in from school, maybe, yes, there was probably dinner there, but they might have had to heat it up, or they might have, you know, it's changing other people's you know, impressions as well of what you're doing. And that can be very difficult because you have to change your social and your social circles and your home life, and that affects everybody, your friends and your family. And that can be very difficult for others. Yes, you know what you're doing and you've changed your priorities, but other people still have their, well, this is my life, and you're interrupting it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it was getting everybody sort of on side. And as well as that, thinking, I'm not doing this as a hobby. I'm not doing this just to do a course and just for something to do. This is actually what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then going to college, I suppose, standing out as being sort of a very mature student. But you know what, I actually didn't. And I think the type of course I was doing as well, in that a lot of the others were actually working and educators. But, you know, they brought me on board and I learned so much from them. And the tutors were they realized, you know, everybody is working, everybody has their own lives outside of here, you know. It's not life and death. If you don't, you know, we'll try and pull everybody along together. And yes, the library and everything was daunting, but I just had to grasp it and say, right, well, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to go and, you know, sit in on workshops, ask the staff and different things like that. And I really had to put myself out there, and every minute of it was way outside my comfort zone. Every single minute of it.
And do you have any regrets, Dora?
I suppose, and somebody said to me actually when I was in placement, it's a pity you didn't do this earlier. But I had other priorities. It wasn't my time. So I suppose I can't really regret not doing it before, because I don't think I would have appreciated it as much or put maybe as much effort into it. So I can't, yes, in a way, you know, I wish I had to do it, but, you know, maybe I had to go through that experience of being at home and being so low, and, you know, and to get the most out of it, and to sort of be so passionate now about what I want to do moving forward, you know.
Brilliant. The time was right for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You touched a little bit there on, you know, being a little bit older, and, you know, ageism does exist out there in the marketplace, we know, as recruiters.
Yeah.
And there's just a question here from somebody, an anonymous attendee. I'm 52 and I've been job hunting for 18 months now. And even though I am discreet on my CV, it is still easy for the hiring people to determine by age. And I feel like I'm losing out due to my age. Any tips?
The tips I would have is, again, your networking, your own circle. Let people know that you're looking for work. Let people get a sense of who you are and what you're doing. You don't have to link in totally with professional people. If you're a member of a book club or a member of a cookery club or the likes of Lean In or something like that, just general chat and start the conversation, not with you, but ask the other person, what are you doing? You know, how did you get into that? And then they'll reciprocate and say, well, what are you doing? And say, well, you know, this is me and this is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So yes, and in my research, that I did find that there was ageism and in recruitment and all of that. But that's the thing that I would have, you know, on LinkedIn as well, you know, get people to be interested in you, and then nobody gives a damn then what age you are. You know, like I've had it, I applied for a job recently, and actually turned out it doesn't really work in with my values anyway, because it's a tick box exercise really about, but I sort of felt under pressure after doing my master's to get a job straight away. And it was tick box about, you know, meeting people and ticking boxes. Yes, did you give them the information about writing their CV and things like that? And, you know, they did get back to me and said about my lack of experience, which is fine. But they didn't understand my role either, because they said you don't have the you know, the educational background to back this up, even though I probably was more qualified than, you know, a lot, because it, you know, it just wasn't that. But that's the advice, is networking. Networking is a social event. And I know a lot of the time people think, oh no, you know, it's a bad word, but just with your own circle, if you're in social media groups or anything like that, talk a bit about what you're interested in, and somebody might say, I know somebody who's employing. Or as well as that, if you sort of are interested in getting into, if you're interested in maybe a particular company or something, reach out to somebody who works in there and find out what are they interested in. Do you know what part of me, you know, do I have to accentuate here to get in? And maybe they'll refer you on, you know. There's lots of ways around that, but I do agree that there still is that ageism factor.
Yeah, I do totally agree with you, and some great tips there, Dora, on networking. Helen Walsh, my colleague, and I, we have a saying in the office, you know, you might have heard of ABC, always be closing, or ABS, always be selling. Well, we say ABN, always be networking, you know, so look at every interaction as a networking opportunity, I suppose, you know. And us Irish, we are, you know, we just love having the chats, you know, so networking is just about having the chats.
Exactly. You know? And then, you know, you don't have to delve in and say, well, I'm looking for a job and, you know, this is it and whatever. It's about the chats, and then eventually it'll come around and people then already have a sense of you. And I think that's very important, because a CV, it doesn't, unless you're doing it very, very well, it doesn't give a true sense of you, you know. So yeah, I think
that's true.
Really
that kind of leads us into the next question here, actually, from an anonymous attendee. I love the planned happenstance, or networking online, I suppose. It's so true. And how do we do that virtually? I think if you could.
I suppose what I've done is, and yes, I really, because I think speaking to people face to face is much nicer, and you know, you can be fobbed off maybe with an email or something. If you just write an email to somebody, it's easier fobbing them off. But I have done it, and again, through LinkedIn, and or even other social media sites, but I've gone into LinkedIn because I find that, you know, I can follow people and they can follow me, and you can post really things, just ordinary things, you know, and people are interested in that. And that's how, like, people link in with you. As I said before, it was like, you wouldn't have known me from Adam, only you see my post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and from that as well, the day actually that you contacted me, the director of DCU alumni, who wouldn't know me from Adam either, and he contacted me and wants me to do an interview in the alumni magazine. You know, so that's how people, that's how you do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And, you know, there are a lot of events that are on at the moment as well. You know, every chamber in Ireland is running online events at the moment. And the great thing about it is that most of them are free now, you know.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
I'd be looking out for, you know, particularly the networking opportunities and the networking events that they're running. I just went to one last night actually with Network Cork. You know, and you got an opportunity to breakout rooms to actually chat to people, which was so nice because we haven't done it in so long, you know. So have a look out for those.
There's a network Mayo and all as well. And what I did as well is I joined Lean In, and there's Lean In groups all over the country. And again, they have networking evenings where they put you into chat rooms and things like that. And even if you get nothing out of it, you just get a chat with somebody, you know, outside of, so that's, you know, it's things like that and groups like that that's how you do your network. I know it's difficult, and I know it can be so hard at the start, but, you know, you just have to get over your discomfort and just, as Nadia Comaneci, feel the fear and just trample it. You know?
Yeah. And, you know, and saying that as well, you know, networking, even if you just take that word out of it. Yes. And just say, we're just having a chat here.
We're just having a chat. So, exactly.
Yeah, which is exactly what it is, really. Yeah. So the questions are flying in, Dora, from Emer. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. It really is inspirational. I think there are many women and parents out there in the same situation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for improving confidence or getting over imposter syndrome?
Well, imposter syndrome, I'm not going to sort of give you advice, because I still get that. And I think an awful lot of people, actually, even very, very professional and people who have seemed to have it made, you know, they still suffer from imposter syndrome. But the confidence thing, I'll tell you what, and I suppose I should have included it there, when I actually did apply for the Masters and sort of did a couple of months in between, Ita, who had given me all the advice, she sent me on this email about a returner event that was on. It was run through the local ETB, and it was 13 weeks of just getting sort of your skills, your personal and professional development. And they did sort of your CV and your interview skills and stuff like that, but they did personal development. And she said, go for the first day and see, it's free, you know, and go for the first day, and sure, if you don't like it, there's no harm done. And it was brilliant, because they sat and they said, you know, about your transferable skills and everything like that, you know. And it's the confidence was that I actually went outside the door and went into another, you know, went in somewhere and met people, all people on different levels, you know, people who had low educational attainment to very high. And there's loads of programs like that, even, you know, partnerships, ETBs and stuff like that. It depends where the funding goes, you know, but doing things like that. And even doing a small course, like there's so many courses, as you said, that are free now, you know, and a lot of them now are online, but hopefully we will soon get back to, you know, actually doing those things face to face. Even the library, you know, even you know, they would do groups and meetings and stuff like that. So
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah. And more great advice there, Dora. You're a rock of sense. And on that note, actually, we do have a list of free courses that are available on our blog. If anybody wants to go on there, they can have a look through. And there's quite a lot available at the moment, so there might be something there that would pique your interest. From Janet, thank you so much. A great talk. And Dora, you really hit home with it, not feeling alive and fulfilled in your career. And somebody else is saying here, you're such a relatable speaker, and they think there might be a job for you there as, or potential as a motivational speaker. So there you go. Loads of more like that coming in from Aidan. Dora, you're incredible. Such an inspiration to today's audience, and you will be to so many in the future as well. Well done on today's presentation and sharing your journey so honestly. We could all echo that. Again, from Audrey, just to say thank you. You're so inspirational, asking for help, taking one step at a time, celebrating your own personal achievements. Fantastic and well done, and a big thank you from Audrey. Another question here from Emer. Is there an element of mental health counselling with the training? I presume she's talking about the training that you have done. I'm not sure really.
Yes, because I know part of the course that we did, we had triad groups. So there was sort of three of us, and one was the observer, and one was the client, and one was the counsellor. It was pure counselling, and in that you got comfortable because you were with the same three people sort of every week for maybe 5 months or whatever. This was part of the course, and you spoke about anything and you got comfortable speaking about everything, and there was always that support. You know, there was always that support that you could help each other. And even now we have WhatsApp group or anything, and anybody that's struggling with anything, a lot of them, the graduates, they're working in schools and it's a very trying time, and they're coming on saying, did you experience this? How do you get on? And I think that all helps your mental health, you know.
Okay.
And then we did some mindfulness as well, and one of our tutors, Paul, he's a mindfulness coach as well. So, you know, he would do like 10 minutes mindfulness before our lecture. So it really was very much taking care, because that's what we have to do whenever we go out to practice. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, very good. So that was well covered there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, from Donica. Well done after doing so well in the Masters, Dora. It's inspirational. What options are open to someone in your position now outside of secondary school guidance role? Do you think you might consider any self-employed opportunities?
Yeah, like I'm interested in the adult guidance. I can't go into schools only on a temporary basis because I don't have a teaching background, so that precludes me from going in there. But with adult guidance, yes. And as I said, I'm going to be an associate on a returners program, and I'm actually now this month, from my sins, doing training, delivery and evaluation, the level 6 in that, so as I can do workshops and things like that. And yes, I would find that I don't want to go in really to a 9-to-5 admin. I don't want to get lost in the administration, but sort of dipping in and out or doing group work with people. And yes, you know, being self-employed and sort of going in as an associate or whatever. But I'm open to, you know, I'm open to opportunities and to see where things take me. And as I say, when I did qualify and during the summer, I was in this panic of, I need to get a job, and everybody be, you know, people were saying, did you get a job yet? Did you get a job yet? And then you just have to step back and say, you know, I've done this for me, and I'm going to take my time to see what suits me. So, you know, and I think going in as an associate as well and doing the likes of this, I'm building up my confidence as well. And then, you know, it's great to get the feedback, because sometimes you think, oh, what would an old doll like me have to offer anybody, do you know? But yeah, you know, it's good to realize that, you know, that I could be helpful.
Absolutely. Well, from the feedback today, Dora, I think, you know, you certainly can, and everybody has been very inspired. And, you know, when we do webinars, I'm just looking at the numbers here, we normally have, you know, a percentage that drop off before the end of the webinar. Everybody has stayed on today, Dora.
Oh, really?
Nobody has dropped off, okay? So that's just proof, I think, as to how interesting and how inspiring your story is. So listen, thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you for sharing your story and for being so honest. And we really, really appreciate it. I think we definitely have given inspiration to myself and everybody else here. So just to let everybody know that next week we have, we'll be back again at the time of 11:30 on Thursday, and we have author and coach Niamh Brady. She's going to talk about remote work and how we need to winterize our habits around remote work. So that should be interesting. So we are a small business and trying to stay alive here. So if you can give us a shout out on social media, we'd be absolutely thrilled. That would be just giving back to us as we run these webinars pro bono. So there's a few more questions coming in now, just quickly, we're coming up to the hour. Again, loads of thanks coming in here from Rachel. Excellent presentation, so real and inspiring. I returned to education full-time at age 44 and completed her degree in 2017. A wonderful experience, and a lot of what Dora spoke about resonated with me. I agree that ageism still exists, but we have so much life experience as well as formal qualifications to offer. I feel, as Dora said, to align the job with your values. I think that is key, and well done, and thanks to Dora and Karen. Okay, so listen, everything was so, you know, everything is just so positive coming in here. You know, as I said, we can really relate with you, Dora. So a huge thank you, and we'll be watching you on LinkedIn and all social media channels to see where Dora goes next. And the very best of luck to you going forward.
Thanks a million, Karen. And just to say, if there is anybody sort of that's been listening and maybe wants to ask something sort of personally or anything, like join me on LinkedIn, you know, and, you know, message me, and I'll do anything to help them or guide them, support them along, because that's what we have to do. We have to lift each other up and, you know, keep supporting each other. And thanks very much to you, Karen, because it's been another learning experience for me, and a very enjoyable one. Thanks very much.
Well done, Dora, and thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye for now. Bye.
Bye.